I'm in pursuit of mystery and the things that interest me. Now you might find this interesting, but I'm not CIA. I've never been to MIT. I don't know what they want from me. They probably want my time machine, but I'm not CIA. I'm not CIA, no matter what my papers say. Not CIA is my middle name. I'm not CIA. I'm just a man about your town, asking about a brown cow. I might make a deal outside your house, but I'm not CIA. I'm not CIA, no matter what my papers say. Not CIA is my middle name. I'm not CIA. If you must know where I stay, it's 33 CIA Way. They gave me access yesterday, but I'm not CIA. No, I'm not CIA, no matter what my papers say. Not CIA is my middle name. I'm not CIA. Thank you. Welcome. It's good to be back. Back in the saddle. Welcome all bears, non-bears, and everyone in between. It's good to be here. In this new environment, I'm married, and the whole equation has changed completely. A lot of people might say I got lucky, that there's no correlation between my silent, fervent, perpetual prayers to find a mate and the finding of one. And I just have to thank my three fathers for the position I'm in. First of all, obviously, Father Almighty in heaven, who prepared this whole field of existence for me to be in. Secondly, my biological father, Q, you've all heard of, for birthing me and raising me, and turning my mind into a bit of an impenetrable fortress, which is good and bad, but it's better to have a strong mind than a weak one. And even though there's a lot of hurt and a lot of, I don't want to call it trauma, but a lot of pain and resistance that you have to go through to get a strong mind. And to my father's credit, he did that for me. He turned me into the ultimate skeptic, just more so than Descartes. You know, you think starting to be skeptical of your own thoughts is about as far as a skeptic can go as a human, but it can go further. It can go all the way to doubting existence and reality itself. But when you get that far, you find a Holy Spirit waiting. And then my third father, my late father-in-law, I have him to thank for this literal house he built for me. a house on top of a hill with a well, with a generator, with many raised garden beds, a position I could defend from an army deployment. With 122 rifle from the roof of this house, I could defend it by myself for weeks against pretty much any number of troops until they bring in the big flying machines. Ain't nobody coming near here. Not that that's a big deal, but it's just like, you like to have that in the back of your head, back of your mind. So now I'm here, and I'm sure everybody's like, well, it must be nice. Just meet a girl, and just so happens that she's got a whole house, a whole setup. Oh, on top of this, my grandpa, when he died, it was about 10 years ago, we had an estate sale. I was in no way living a stable life anywhere, so I couldn't take all of his tools. Him being a good old boy, World War II Marine, he had made a collection of every tool a man should have in his workshop in the backyard. And it was very demoralizing and depressing to watch all that disappear and realize that if I was ever going to have that, I was going to have to start from scratch. Which I did, slowly, by whatever means I could, slowly compiling automobile tools and all the tools that it takes to be a sufficient man in America. But I didn't have many. But marrying into this family, I now have at least 3 of every tool that a man should have. So my cup truly runneth over. I was at the chicken farm. To me, that was my personal purgatory. It was where I had to learn that there was nothing I could do to help myself. All I could do, it's like your prayer has to be reduced to not my will but thine. Even though, I knew that my strongest prayer was finding a mate. But I also knew every attempt that I had made to personally make that happen had blown up in my face. And so I literally had to stop trying and completely psychologically, spiritually, physically turn it over to God. And it was the hardest thing I ever did. And I still don't know where that line was, if I even got there, but something happened. A special woman from my past re-entered it. And this is where the narrative gets even crazier, because I've known her since I was 10 years old. And I fell in love with her when I was 10 years old. And I've been in love with her since I was 10. And she's always represented for me the ideal female form. Her mind, her body. I can't wait to when I feel comfortable enough to just talk about her and all of her qualities. But once I start that talk, it'll never end, because her qualities never end. So, now I'm here. Now I'm in the promised land. I didn't have to walk around Jericho. I literally had to walk around myself until I fell, until I gave up. And then the Holy Spirit came in like a flood. But that leaves the material question. I kind of wished I could have stayed at the chicken farm and lived simply for another year, but that's just hard to do when you've become intimate with someone else. So I moved an hour south. I'm much closer to central Arkansas now, much closer to Babylon, actually having to spend time in Babylon now. And it's an adjustment, but there's no adjustment that I'm not willing to go through for my wife and family. They are the priority. So the question now is, what do I do for money? My late father-in-law left my mother-in-law off pretty decent. She's not hurting for anything, but she does not have an excess. My wife works. She's not hurting for anything, but there's not a lot of excess. They don't live beyond their means, but they live right up against them. as most Westerners are wont to do. But the blessing is, my late father-in-law grew up very poor, and his wife grew up pretty much middle class. He was a hard worker. He truly was, not rags to riches, but rags to comfort. American story. And so they had one daughter, my wife, Autumn. And not only did he prepare a house for me, this man, my late father-in-law, who I only knew as a child and had a lot of respect for, but I never knew him as an adult. Because as older as I got, I still kept in touch with Autumn, just because you'll never forget what appears to be the ideal to you. But I just drifted further and further away, just thinking I was less and less worthy of being with someone like her. Because she was raised about as perfectly as you can be raised in this culture. Protected from all the mind traps, all the conditioning. She was homeschooled all the way through. High school. Then she went to a Baptist college first 2 years, and then she went to a public university. And she's been on her own ride. She's of just figuring out what it is to be a functional, satisfied human in this culture. But she has come through all her trials and tribulations. And lucky for me, she never got married. Because it was not for lack of trying. But everyone who tried was either a severe gamma narcissist or just too dumb for words by her standards, because she's super high IQ in everything. She's a concert pianist. She reads music. She plays piano phenomenally, which makes my heart beat really fast when I hear. And she has a master's degree, and she's just very intelligent. She's also a woman. And the best thing about this whole situation is her and her mother, we all live together now in a 4-bedroom large house, like I said. Way better than I deserve. And all the haters out there will just be like, you got lucky, you won the lottery. It doesn't have anything to do with your spiritual preparation. There's no correlation between prayer and deliverance. But respectfully, I disagree. But what he did, they're all kind of semi-woke, just because they're on social media, they watch the news. But fundamentally, they know the difference between a man and a woman. And they know that it's not fluid. They know that there are things men are supposed to do and women are supposed to do. And so, being the new person here, bringing the least to the table, and being the most able and most functional mechanically and physically, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. I'm the ultimate servant here. I'm at the downstairs of the Downton Abbey. But I am also Lord Grantham. I am the king of this castle. And they recognize that. They don't want to be. It's not anything you can completely put into words. It just has everything to do with the areas of the household that they're in charge of. But when it comes to something mechanical, handyman, something to do with the automobiles, something to do with the yard, it immediately they turn to me. That's my field. And but mostly, this is what I've noticed psychologically. If something comes up that they don't want to be held responsible for, they'll both immediately turn to me and completely accept whatever decision I make, never looking back. Both of them are the type that they're so in tune with the right frequencies that they'll never regret anything that they choose, because they've been taught to choose things for the right reasons. They will feel remorse, but regret and remorse are completely different. So whenever they turn to me and with the look in their eyes like, I don't want I can't accept the responsibility of this, so it's on you. That's a major part of what it is to be a man, is to accept the responsibility for things that may or may not turn out. And so, yeah, the living situation is perfect. But now I have to contribute financially, which, as we all know, you have to go with your skills. My skill set, as far as things that are worthwhile to society in the West, is I'm a laborer. I have that low gear, that bottom gear, that when I get into, I can just go forever on very little water and very little calories. I can walk many, many kilometers with much weight on my back. I can dig many ditches, lay many bricks. That's a skill that's dying, actively dying in this country, because the human's just ability to exert himself in this day and age is just decreasing exponentially every day. My other skill is completely different. It is what the Europeans have referred to the past few centuries as a man of letters. And a man of letters traditionally is someone who can write a contract. And a contract traditionally is a statement describing the terms of agreement that two parties have come to about any given subject. The importance of being able to write a contract well is to state both positions of each party and what the agreement is between them in a way that cannot be misunderstood. This is what it is to be a man of letters, is be able to use language in a way that cannot be misunderstood. Intrinsically, this is very valuable. But materially, in this modern age, it's become less and less valuable because you're almost rewarded for being more vague these days. And as we know, like what we call the fine print of every agreement we make legally with any entity, there's always some fine print. That almost always doesn't mean anything once it's truly broken down, like the way it's worded. They're designed to be nebulous. They're designed to not implicate whoever's giving the terms. And so, where I'm finding myself is that there's just not a lot for me to do right now, because honestly, people on a low level of just doing handyman jobs, obviously, if you hire somebody to get a job done, you want the hardest worker and the smartest guy you have. But a company right now, with the way the market is right now, it's almost like they're just looking for warm bodies. There's almost this agreement between the employers and the workers in the West that the only way we'll get turned over to complete socialism is if everybody stops expecting anything from each other, which is what we're starting to see. And this is leading to all kinds of complications on any given work site for honest, hard-working people. It's almost like you're expected to appear to be working a lot more than you are actually working. Because if you're actually working in any capacity, it's just going to emphasize the non-working of the other parties. And so there's this silent collective agreement to everybody just be warm bodies and accept paychecks, and until this free market illusion collapses. Because in a lot of ways, the free market is an illusion. In a family and community, that's a free market. But once you have an entity that says we get to decide whether or not you're legally able to profit from something or another, then you've shifted from a non-free market. And so it's all a quagmire right now. But at the end of it, that is the thing I worry most about, obviously. is just being productive and providing. But it's going to be a lot of drama before I settle in somewhere, because things are weird. That's the only way I can put it. But the most valuable thing that you can have is faith in the plan of God, and if you have that, you have everything. So we'll end there, and I hope everyone has a great day, and I can't wait to get back with you with the rest of the adventures. I can't wait to talk more about my wife, and I can't wait to play music with her for you. It'll be amazing.